This video is going to be all about creating your lover archetype and creating your own love story. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Soulmates Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I'm speaking about creating your own love story. I just got off of a great podcast with Flavia Zanari. She's a poet. Her poetry book, which was published, is called Letters from Love. And it was an incredible conversation, you know. We got to really start to explore different concepts in terms of how love is the ultimate flow state. You know, time slows down for you, nothing else matters. And it's this feeling of like, okay, when you're in love with someone, right, you sort of are so connected to that person. And if you're in love with yourself, you're also so connected with yourself, right? This connection element is so important. And I was talking about this analogy that I just thought of. So think about a relationship like a book, okay? Power versus force right here. So think about it like a book. Like there's certain people that can't read. Listen to this analogy that I'm telling you, okay? There's certain people that can't read, meaning that they don't know how to be in a relationship. There's certain people that all they do is read books, right? That means they're relationship hopping, okay? One relationship, other relationship, other. There's certain people that don't like the visual aspect of books, but they like audiobooks. They like a different kind of a relationship. There's certain people that get to chapter 5 and then they give up on the book. There's certain people who kind of sort of like books, but they much rather prefer movies. There are certain people that you can't judge a book by its cover. Do you get where I'm going here, guys, with this analogy? It's a powerful analogy to look at relationships and specifically understanding this concept of tidiness through the lens of love. What do I mean by this? Have you ever heard of Mary Kondo? She's like this cute little Japanese woman who is on Netflix, right? Her show is called Tidying Up. I don't know too much about her, but all I know is she'll pick up an object and she'll ask her to herself or ask the person who's cleaning the room, like, does this spark joy? Does this object spark joy? So similarly, I'm not trying to objectify this. I know you used a book analogy and object analogy, but in the sense of, does your relationship spark joy? Does it make you feel lighter or more dense? Now, this is a paradox because a lot of the times we get into relationships because those are things that we need to work on. So the areas in which our partner triggers in us are actually areas where we need closure, and we need to close the gap on those things and those areas. Because those are unhealed parts of ourselves, right? Those are elements of our upbringing or trauma or attachment styles and all this kind of stuff. Relationship development is actually spiritual development on a greater level, right? Because we are looking into the shadows, and in fact, the other person, whatever is in their mind is mixing around with whatever is in your mind. And if they're a bit bonkers, guess what? You're going to feel a bit bonkers in the relationship. And it is this energy exchange, right? Especially if you're intimate with them. Like I've noticed about this pattern of the person that you lose your virginity to and you chemically bond with them, right? The oxytocin, that feeling, is who becomes your lover archetype. Now, this is very interesting. Now, hear me out here. This is a general rule. It's not the same for everybody. But generally speaking, the person that you lost your virginity to is and becomes the archetype of lover that you seek throughout your life. Because there's a bonding. There's a chemical, first off, initial oxytocin bonding that takes place. So isn't that interesting? Once you become aware of that, now you can actually attract into your life the kind of relationship that you want. Not so much as a very solid framework, right? You don't want to be so inflexible with it, but you don't want to be so lenient and flexible with it too. You got to find your flow state relationship, meaning it's the sweet spot. And the way that I see relationships developing is through 3 levels, okay? The first level is codependence. I know a lot of people listening and watching to this, maybe they're still at that first level. I know that I've been at that first level, and possibly, quite possibly, I'm at that second level of independence, where I'm actually starting to figure myself out without the storyline of like another person in my life, you know, creating. And I understand that that synergy is powerful and we can manifest things faster when we're there with another person. But if they have their own issues, that are being projected onto the other person, you're going to get a lot of upheaval, turmoil, tumultuous relationships. And a lot of people think that, well, why am I attracting the same kind of person over and over again, right? Well, it's because of this pattern that we seek in others what we need to work on within ourselves. Okay? So if you haven't really worked on your levels of confidence, you're going to see a very confident woman and be attracted to her. Straight up. Okay? If you haven't worked on your own area of honesty, you're going to be noticing a very honest, vulnerable woman and be like, okay, I'm so attracted to that. Because that's an area you need to work on, right? So codependence is like this idea that, okay, I'm fully depending on this other person for my level of self-esteem, happiness, growth, etc. Where you don't feel this sense of wholeness, right? You feel like this person is my other half. And this is where we come into the soulmate myth. Now, the idea of a soulmate, I don't think is accurate in the sense that there's only one person that we must be connected to, okay? I believe that soulmates are many different people that we can be connected to, and I think that we can be with more than one person in our lifetime. Now, because media has portrayed it in such a specific way, that love has to be this tumultuous thing, right? It has to look like Hallmark or Disney or all these conditioned ways of seeing relationships. Let's scratch that and let's get you to create your own inner roadmap by going inwards and figuring out, what do I truly want? What do I truly need? What do I truly desire? And not a lot of people can do this. When I ask them, hey, what kind of relationship do you want? They're like, I don't know, like someone hot. Is that really going to get you the kind of relationship that you truly desire? Now, I don't mean for you to get super, like, dead-on specific, though that can help. I think that that might actually help you in terms of actually getting someone more enhanced into your life. I had a very intuitive man draw my soulmate for me. And I thought that was really interesting. Actually quite recently, like a week ago. And I don't know what I feel about it. I mean, I look into this woman's eyes and I see that, okay, kind of cool, right? But then again, I'm like, I don't know. Someone might end up watching these videos and be like, ooh, that guy's spicy, you know, and hit me up. That's besides the point. What's really important for you is to understand that, okay, I have this belief system around love now, and I can actually work on it. So I have my own relationship framework. I understand that, you know, I want someone who listens to me and can follow directions. I want someone who is nurturing, has a good sense of humor. So I have the different elements in mind, right? It's not a very specific checklist, like I'm some kind of a bouncer in the club, like checking if I'm going to let her into my life. However, it is an understanding of boundaries, because that's where the independence comes in. So as I mentioned, level 1 is codependence. Level 2 is independence, where you're like, man, I don't need a relationship. I got this, man. I got it all on my own. I'm an independent woman. I don't need no man, right? That's level 2, okay? And then level 3 is this sense of interdependence. And that's what a healthy relationship is interdependence, okay? Now, interdependence is like a synergy. It's a sense that there are two wholes meeting, creating a greater whole. It's not two halves filling each other's void. But it's this idea that, okay, this person is doing their growth work, I'm doing my growth work. There's a conscious balancing and a flow state in that relationship where it's synergistic. How do these buildings get made and artworks get made and, you know, great things happen? It's we're each our own specialists in our own lanes. So if we have another specialist coming in, adding another layer into that, guess what? We're going to manifest faster. We're going to get great things happening and so forth. So this level of interdependence is 1 + 1 = 11. It's not 1 + 1 = 1, which is what Jean-Paul Sartre would say, but it's 1 + 1 = 11. And how powerful is that understanding that this is like a cosmic gateway of two individuals that create their own universes and planets together. Mars and Venus are meeting. Mars has a very specific vocabulary. Venus has a very specific vocabulary, or flowcabulary, we can call it, right? Mars has a very specific way of doing things, and Venus has a very specific way of doing things. As a man, I seek discomfort and try to get myself stronger. As a woman, you might seek stability and comfort to make yourself softer. And that's okay, right? That's the balance. That is that integration happening. The polarities are balancing out. A lot of people in their relationships, they're not embodied. They aren't embodied with their hearts. They aren't embodied with their sexual organs. They're disconnected. And this disconnection is what causes relationship problems, specifically through communication. Communication and trust are two different areas that will strengthen any relationship, hands down. If you want to measure your relationship with somebody, look at the last communication line that you have with that person. If you left it on a bad note, guess what? That's a bad relationship. If you left it on a good note, guess what? It's an all right relationship. It's a good relationship, or at least you respect that person. So this is what it's about. It's about you creating a love story for yourself. If you can visualize in your mind, and let's get into a bit of a fantasy world here, where you had your ideal lifestyle and relationship, how would you want it to look? Now, I want you to go very intense with your fantasy and then bring down some practical steps to get you closer towards that fantastical world and how you can create that fantasy within you. So the archetype that you are right now determines the archetype that you're going to attract right now. Let's say you're a grungy kind of guy. Are you like alternative rock? You are going to attract an alternative rocker chick, correct? You're not going to go and randomly attract like some kind of like a girl who's really into hip hop and kind of like twerks. No, you're going to attract a very specific niche, a very specific archetype of a kind of person that vibes with you. You're going to be attracting a very specific person on your timeline, on your frequency. The truth is, if you wanted to be in a relationship and you knew you could be in a relationship, you'd already be in one. But the thing is, there's something preventing you, some kind of baggage, some kind of emotional cord, maybe to the past, some kind of thing that's getting you to be stuck in your own ways. So how do you open yourself up to actually creating the storyline of like, man, I want to create my ideal love life? The ideal love life is first of all created for an understanding of your own self-relation. And it's also the avatar that you're creating for yourself. If you think of a relationship, it's like a battery. Plus and minus creates energy. Opposite poles, but it still holds the power to create something amazing, create electricity, create a spark, create a chemistry. That's what's happening. So if you can't stick to your character, stick to your pole, stick to your understanding of self, stick to your relationship framework, stick to your energy and essence and the best version of you, are you really going to be throwing out that vibration into the world where you're accepting and loving and being in a relationship with someone? It's absolutely not easy. But the thing about it is, there is growth potential there. So if you can go into this with the understanding that I'm here to learn something, I'm here to grow. Like just like in a book, you're there to look through it and get some golden nuggets from it. Right? It's there to change your life. It's there to give you advice. It's there to get inspiration from it. That's what a relationship is for. It's there to help you grow and learn and gain wisdom and references so that you can be more of who you are or access that part of you that gives you permission to be the best lover that you can be. Ultimately, all energy is sexual energy, right? So a person who has that very high sexual energy means that they also have a potential for healing at that level. Once you understand that I have a lover archetype that I'm creating. Let's say you go into your imagination right now. Okay, do this with me. Imagine your ideal partner. Imagine their backstory. Just go into the fantasy world. I don't want you to go, very logical and very rational, like, oh, I'm going to meet her in a bookstore. I don't want that. I want you to go into like the quantum realm, into wherever planet she's from. I want you to pull from the etheric realm. I want you to pull from the ethereal world right now in terms of describing this. For me, it would be in a case, a woman, right? And just start to describe their persona, their identity, their background, who they're friends with. What do you see? Are there any animals around them? Are they in a palace? And really let your imagination go to that place. Let it go to that place. Now you want to really, if you could chunk it down and get to that feeling. What did it feel like when you were there, if you could plant yourself into that visualization, just like bloop, you're there in your highest self, what would be the feeling of you two connected? Or even it could be multiple people. It doesn't need to be one-on-one, right? It could be like multiple people that you're connected with. However, for this specific example, we're doing one-to-one. What is the feeling that you get from being in love and being in that partnership? You feel lighter. You feel grateful. You feel expansive. You feel like you can be more of your gender. You feel like you're inspired. You feel like you're nurtured. Do you feel a softening in your heart? Do you feel any pressure? Start to really describe what is it like. What is it like to be with this person? All I'm doing is letting you get the senses of what that relationship gives you. If you could associate a smell to that love, what would that smell be? Start wearing that perfume. If you could associate a celebrity or an archetype or a cartoon that looks like her or him, what would it be? If you can associate a flower with them, what flower would they choose? Start going into the vibration and with the energy of the senses that are being created in this relationship framework, okay? And start becoming that fantasy yourself so you embody that presence and that lover archetype through you. Of course, the art of seduction has many different, seduction archetypes. However, I want you to work primarily with the archetype that you're creating for yourself that would be a version of you that gives you advice on how to love. So if you can plant yourself into the future and you could be that suave person that you know you are, who has love under control, they understand it, they're feeling it, they are love, they're no more disconnected from it, they are living it. And you could ask that person for love advice or relationship advice, what would they tell you? That's how I want you to think from this perspective. And once you do that, I guarantee you, your flow state is going to get you from point A to point B. Start doing this, start applying the different things that I said in this video, apply the analogy of the book, and get back to me if you have any questions. I definitely want to help you create your archetype and get you on the roadmap towards creating the reality that you truly prefer. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today. Boom.